My name is Augustus, and what I do for a living is, of course, as a HR professional. And Kyndryl is an IBM spin-off. So let me give you a quick commercial of Kyndryl. So we spun off from IBM in 2021 to aim at a very huge cloud and AI market. Okay, so we spun off with about $19 million in revenue and 90,000 employees globally. By far the largest at that particular time, you would say. And any spin-off comes with its own challenges. So I think it was a great time for me after 21 years in IBM to move to a new company because it threw the challenge of setting up the organization, building a new culture, and of course enabling our leadership to go at the market that we aimed to go at. Okay, so it's been a great ride over the last 3 years, and as I speak today, we are a very profitable company. The analysts as well as the investors are happy with what we're doing. We have a good bunch of clients, and if you looked at even Bangalore Airport, as you come in, the entire airport runs with the partnership of Kyndryl. So, which means we are in the infrastructure technology space. What that means is that all the IT infrastructure in any organization, be it banks, be it airlines, the whole heart and lungs of the organization is IT infrastructure. You won't see us, but we power progress. And therefore, what we do here is something which you may not see, but you experience, right? And how do we do it? Well, we do it in partnership with various other brands. That is Google for a Google Cloud, or Cisco over here, or a VMware pipe, and we integrate them all to make it work for the client. So we enable organizations for digital transformation and AI and cloud transformation. So that's briefly about us. And why am I here and on a topic called Charting the Future of HR? And when they asked me, I said, well, let's talk about purpose, and then we will talk about people, and then the power of tech, all right? So the first thing about purpose, all right? I think we're all sitting here because each of us is purpose-driven, okay? And when we talk of purpose, right across the generations in the workforce, what I see is everyone wants to do something, which is very close to what they have deep inside. And that actually creates the hook to engage them. So let me give you a story, okay? So this is a true story, this happened, okay? You know the transformation that's happening in our industry, job losses, lack of skills, and you know the demand for good talent, okay? Retention is another big challenge for a lot of HR people. So there is this organization, and this lady who works there with about 10 plus years of experience, and let's call her Rukmani, okay? So Rukmani joined this organization straight from campus, and she started working there, building the business, and then she got a break to also do sales and marketing. She won deals for the company, she traveled the world, and technically she was very good. But post-pandemic and all those things, there was a lot of technology challenges. Before we could even come into the AI era, started asking us for systems and for digital transformation. So the skills were not there, but the demand was there, all right? So therefore, same thing happened to Rukmani when she rides up the elevator to her desk and then sits down on a Monday morning. She sees a note on her desk, and that note says, let's meet Rukmani, and that's from her manager. So you know what happens on a Monday morning, you have a note from your manager, oh gosh, that's an escalation. Something got messed up, okay? So she says, okay, let me go at this meeting. Man is a nice guy. Have a seat, ask her to have a seat, shares a cup of coffee, and then he tells Rukmani, you've been a great asset to this company. I respect. But our company changed strategy 2 times in 3 years. And therefore, the skills that you bring to the table are no more relevant. And in about 3 months' time, I don't think we have a job for you. Now, Rukmani was crestfallen, and nobody has even spoken to her like that. And again, which tells us as HR people that we prolong certain things, we don't give in-time feedback. Okay? So what happens to Rukmani is that she's dejected, crestfallen, goes back home early that day, but being the person she is, she again comes back to the office the next day. Now what does she see on her desk? It says, click here. So she clicks the button, and then what opens in front of her is this huge screen that you have on an airline, the seat back screen, okay? And that says your journey of skilling and transformation starts here. So she clicks the button, and then she starts learning. And as they are, going, when you're flying, you know what altitude you're flying, what is the temperature outside, and also what you're flying over. So as she's flying over the cliffs, and those cliffs are typically some of those difficult certifications that she has to get. And those green and rolling meadows out there are the foundational skills where she was built up. So she has to use these foundational skills. And of course, the angry rolling seas are the dynamic business environment that she operates in. Okay? So with all these things, she also knows that someone told her that skills is the new currency and therefore you need to invest in yourself. And somebody also told her that you are in charge of your career, so take care of your career. So she not only takes this whole learning journey, she invests in her skills. Somebody also told her, look, you're not so socially eminent. So she starts her own LinkedIn and starts getting eminent, having followers and so on and so forth, right? So, time comes for her to land. And who does she see on landing? Her manager. Manager now says, hey, Rukmani, fantastic. I have just kind of job for you. So she looks him in the eye and says, wow, great. What is it? So he says, well, this is an on-site requirement and we'll pay you so much and this will require you to do all this stuff. She says, Mr. Manager, thank you so much, but I'm not taking that job because I got something else. Oh, really? Bad. So she says, I got this job with an airline company. So he said, airline company? Why would you go and join an airline company? Because I know that you are so concerned about clean air. And airlines are pollutants, at least then. And why would you go and join one of the largest polluters of the air we breathe? And she said, exactly for that reason, because I'm joining the team that is focused on reducing the carbon footprint. So every line of Java code that I'm going to be writing resonates with my value system. And therefore, I'm going to feel more engaged and satisfied. So that's why she takes the job. And then she says, this job is for 3 days only, so I can come and work for you for 2 days. Now what happened is that she transitioned also to a gig worker, right? So manager says, well, she's a good resource. So she works for this airline company and then she works for this IT company. There's no conflict of interest. But at the end of it, what happened here is that she is engaged. And when you're engaged, what happens is that you find what is your purpose. And your purpose is something that resonates with you deeply, and it also relates and connects to your company's business strategy and vision. And the moment it connects to strategy and vision, you are more engaged. And therefore, every output that you are putting out there is purpose-driven. Okay? So that's the story of Rukmani, and that is about purpose. And gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, you can stop me anywhere and ask me questions. And this is a true story. Similarly, there was something that I heard, on a campus drive. And this campus drive happened in a tier 2, tier 3 town in Andhra. And one of the guys spotted a very bright young girl. And she didn't want to come to the placement interview because her father had fixed her wedding. So one of these guys actually went and spoke to the father. So the father was a carpenter, and he said, well, I've found this very nice alliance for my daughter, and we're going to get her married. So he makes a deal with her father. He says, see, don't do that. Give me time. I will make sure that she has a great career and a great future. Okay? So he intervened and convinced the father to get that girl to come and take the placement test. And she did it with flying colors. Okay, the first person from her village to get a job at about 12 lakhs per annum. And at the same time, what happened is something which we need to look at for purpose. This didn't just bring a windfall into her family. This transformed the village from where she came. And if you've gone to the hinterlands of India, you would know that a lot of homes don't even have a toilet. Women have to go in the night to relieve themselves. Okay? We should consider ourselves fortunate. So this girl went and built a few toilets with the money she earned here. Okay? And that is true youth inclusiveness and diversity in action. What did this recruiter do? He could have just hired or not hired, but he spotted talent. And when you spot talent, you've got to understand to put the right things there to unlock that talent. And today, what we're trying to do is to take a lot of companies from the beautiful city of Bangalore and say, hey, look, there's talent outside of Bangalore also. We need to decongest the city. Okay, so this is an initiative called Beyond Bengaluru. You know, whether it's Hubli, Dharwad, or Belagavi and things like that. So we talk to employers, and my own company is in the process of opening. My previous company, IBM, opened in Mysore and in the process of opening up in other places. We have offices in Coimbatore and Cochin also, which could be considered tier 2 cities and towns. Why? Because talent is there and we are unlocking talent. And alongside that, we are driving purpose, a purpose-driven workforce. So with that, I want to get into the next one, the power of tech. Okay, and I said, what is the future of HR2 is what I wanted to talk to you about. This is a brief note that I had shared with my team about how the world of HR is changing. Okay, you've all been part of the transformation. Is the role of a HR partner or a CHRO shifting, and is it grey, and is it merging with the role of the CTO? And the answer to that seems to be a yes. Okay, because we have to consider the future of HR about aligning skills. Okay, so the CTO is a silo, HR is a silo sometimes in large organizations. So how do we converge here? Okay, I'm not going to read through that chart, but you know very clearly here culture is core to this whole thing. And is culture a HR responsibility? The answer is no. Culture is driven by the business. Okay, and what we did when we moved from IBM and started Kyndryl, it was a bottom-top approach to culture. Right? And when I say bottom-top, we went and asked our people, how would you like to be seen, evaluated, assessed? Okay, so they came up with a Kyndryl culture. Okay, they also came up with the color of the organization, which is a warm red. Okay, and the red, RED, okay, also is an acronym. Okay, it's about reinventing, it's about employees, it's about dedication, and various other things. So I can go on and on about what we're doing. But there were 3 things that we did right here. Okay, we asked employees how do they want to be seen. Okay, so they said the first thing that came out to them, because we came out of the pandemic, was empathy. Okay, so empathy is the E in red. Okay, and the D is devotion or dedication to client success. And the R that it starts with is restlessness. So restlessness to innovate. So restless, empathetic, and devoted. And then it's a warm red. So people are today assessed using these very broad parameters. Okay, and it doesn't happen every year, once a year. It happens every time you want to hear or listen to feedback. Okay, and when I'm talking about that, roles, there's a future of HR. So we're shifting gears here. So the future of HR is also about alignment. The CTO alignment is something which I see very, very clearly that is going to happen. And not just going to happen, but I have seen it happen. So there's a little case study here after this particular chart. Okay, so here you'll see the overlap of what we are doing. Okay, what the CTO does, what we do in HR, but overall, what is it? Okay. Overall, we have a digital workforce today, right? And then we have AI adoption happening literally everywhere. How many of us are ready or are already working with AI agents in HR? Working with AI agents. Great. So I think a lot of us are working with AI agents. And I think the future, at least for those you are probably Gen Z or Gen Alpha, not sure, but Gen Z, I'm sure, the last of Gen Z. Because the Gen Alpha would be my son who's going to join the workforce. Incidentally, I have all three generations. Okay, my spouse, I'm X, my spouse is millennial, my first son is Z, my last son is A. So I get all of it, and most of the times I get the slowest internet in the home because they occupy those places where the signals are strong. Okay, so that's something that you also have to understand about the new generation. They really know what they want and where to get it from. Okay, so I might go and plonk myself in the most comfortable sofa, but that's not where I'm getting the signals, right? These guys can perch themselves anywhere, but they know that they are connected. And it is so important to keep them connected because connection is their lifeline. Many times we say, hey, sorry, you are just on your phone. Yeah, but what did we do? My generation gave you the smartphone, right? What did they give back to us? They gave us GPT, they gave us AI, they gave us a lot of stuff, all right? And maybe putting the man on the moon. So we'll also talk about the pitfalls of AI as we go. Now, I'll take you to the case study if you've gone through this. Company called Moderna. Moderna was one of the vaccine companies, if you know, right? The anti-COVID. So they had this huge challenge of technology and people. So they went and merged the role of the CTO and HR. Okay, and why did they do it? Okay, because there was a blur between human work and AI work, and they needed the HR person to understand technology so that they are able to deploy technology more effectively. And when we moved from IBM to Kyndryl, what we first did was this. Okay, we made sure that we got technology which enables people to be visible. We were close to 90% work from home. Okay, now then how do I know what someone is doing? So the first thing was to create visibility for people, which means they fill out their career sheets and then online they are available to managers, hiring managers or opportunities that is looking for those skills. All right, so it was what we would call a Netflix style of learning, which IBM pioneered, where the right learning, which was going to be in demand based on the order pipeline that I have, was what we were training people. Okay, so this is what happened. Humans over there and about 3,000 AI agents. Now their early outcome was not just workforce management. If you see, workforce management today is moving away, okay, to a very hybrid human AI management. Okay, and how does this happen? This happens once your CHRO understands tech and is able to work with people to ensure that the deployment happens, because you got to teach those AI systems very clearly. And there are pitfalls in it. Okay, whether it is in hiring and biases could come in, or whether it's in performance management, where AI could make certain biased decisions, and it is in various other HR functions. So the CTO also has the right filters and controls to ensure that biases don't creep in, right? And when you merge these two functions, depending on the complexity of your organization, you have success. So if you go and see the share price, it's going through the roof. So end of the day, what happens is that the bottom line increases there. It typically increases the bottom line because people are engaged, bless you, and of course, they are satisfied. So that's more a case study of Moderna. I have a lot on this, but I just wanted to leave you with this thought that the future of HR is going to be a lot to do with the benefits of these two functions, okay? Digital transformation, adoption, and also, last but not least, is security, okay? IT security. Today, it's a time bomb that's ready to burst. IT security is an area where we have lesser and lesser skills, but where there is more and more demand, okay? So, and of course networking too, okay? So networking and IT security go hand in hand, okay? So if you looked at it, each of us are also custodians of IT security because we have a fragmented workforce. And when we say we have a fragmented workforce, one of the first things that we ended up building there was trust. And if the manager didn't have trust because there was critical data that some of those employees were handling, and it was so important to bring in the right level of transparency as well as control. Did it work? Yes, it worked. Did you have challenges? Yes. Did people do something? Yes, they did. So here was this guy who went and he was bidding for a particular project, and then he wanted some help. He went and put that whole project into ChatGPT. Boom, that's a violation. So you also have to tell your people, hey, look, how are you going to use those LLMs and how are you going to use AI without compromising on your data security, okay? Everything you're going to go and put there in that engine is going to be used. It's not, so you don't put company confidential stuff there, okay? So inadvertently, a lot of these things happen, right? And you have the right firewalls, you have the right security, but end of the day, I think it's about behaviors. So culture is also undergirded by behavior, right? And today, if you asked me, do we have a posture of ensuring that client data is valuably protected? I would say yes. Because our defect could be 0.1%. And that was not because I had the best tech. I do have the best tech, but that was because each employee was accountable. And that level of accountability came because of the culture that we built. So, with that, I'm going to go into the last part of what I want to say is, in any transformation journey, all right, we are not passengers in that journey. As HR, we are actually navigators in that journey, right? And I've seen a lot of transformations, acquisitions, divestments, new organizations, also being a startup mentor. So I know what it takes to succeed and what are the pitfalls out there. And I'm still learning. But nevertheless, it's not about being a passenger in that journey, but being a navigator out there. Okay? Good. So with that, I'm going to pause and take any questions that you might have. There's a seat here if you prefer. Thank you.
It was well said. The only thing that I would add to it is, when we say HRs are mostly looked as enablers, but do we have a say on the table? When we say CTO and HR, we have to work together and bringing in AI aspects, two different things.
Yes.
How much is the organization willing to invest in this partnership? It has to always be a top-down approach, right? Unless we make that noise and say, hey, whatever decision that you're making, it's important for HR to know because we are not enablers, we're also advisors.
Yeah.
It's important to, make sure that we partner in such a way that it should not be that we are the bottlenecks of any kind of deal that you bring in or any organizational shift that you're bringing in. You spoke about culture, you spoke about innovation. That is important. But HRs, I think I still see and hear that there's a struggle in trying to get this partnership together. So have you had any such cases?
I think very, very rightly put, apart from being enablers, we're also consultants to the business, right? A lot many times, we already have a seat at the table, okay? And I'll tell you how we got a seat at the table for the pandemic, okay? March 21st or something, I still remember very clearly. And here was this emergency meeting called at the board room, and all my leaders were looking at HR. It was like, hey, like I could pull a rabbit out of a hat, okay? So why were they looking at HR? Because they believed that you were the custodian of the people. And that's when we moved out into a flexible work and so on and so forth. But I think the decisions that we took there, whereas it could have been about wellness, it would have been about business continuity, it could have been about managing an irate customer and so on and so forth. HR came to the table and handled it. So now we have a seat at the table. Okay, so what we have to do now is not sit in that comfortable chair, but today HR is required to understand the business and go and pitch. So there are times when I pitch to a potential client. Okay, so what happens when you're pitching to a potential client? Not that you're a sales guy, but you understand the expectation of the client. And when you understand the expectation of the client, you're able to equip your people to meet that expectation or exceed that expectation. So I hope I understand.
I'd like to add one point to that. I think also, of course, you need to understand the business because that's when you'll be able to speak with confidence.
Absolutely.
But specific to your question on tech and AI, how do we get a seat at the table? I think it's time if we have not already started to get competent in the field of technology for the entire business. And then you will be defining really which table happens, and then you'll be driving that initiative. We won't have to wait for an invitation anymore. CEO will call you and invite you to say, please lead the project. I think that's where each of us need to get this competent.
Absolutely.
I have something to add. See, HR and CTO, right? Tech has always gone hand in hand with HR, no two thoughts about it. But if you really want to look at both of them partnering or one person taking it over, I personally feel it's more relevant to an industry where your products are directly catered to humans, right? In tech companies, they are not really dealing with the human as an end customer. This will still not be there.
It's very sector specific.
Yes.
Right? And it's what is emerging today. Okay? You saw how HR transitioned from a time office. Okay? HR was more a gatekeeper, a time office, which means in those days, much before a lot of you were born, people would have to punch in their time, and then HR would calculate how many days you came, how many days you were late. If it was 3 times you were late, half a day is gone for you as loss of pay. That was the role HR was playing in a back office. So I see, the convergence of HR to CTO as a transition of that. Okay? And would it be specific to IT or startups or tech companies? I don't have an answer to it, but it could even be a mining company who could see convergence of roles because it's people that we're looking at here, right? So it's about understanding people and how you want to converge on that. But great question, thank you very much.
But just to add, just to extend what she was saying, HR, 80% of the places, at least I have seen experience, 80% of the time HR is always called when there is some emergency happens.
Yeah.
We are the ones who are enabling business growth. We are not the business by ourselves. We are not required as such. But when the business needs hiring, we are there. When they have to fire, we are there. We have to help them. So from that caveat, for most startups, it's promoter led. Promoter will decide what HR should be doing. By and large, his or her hand will be there in everything. And the limitations for the HR persons to be empowered is very minimalistic, unless until it's an HR tech product. So 80% time it is there, 20% times are still there whether HR is the driving force or they have a seat at the table. Even if they get the seat at the table, they get the seat only to talk about the dashboard.
Yeah, see, great observation. But again,
mindset we are trying to change now.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you're not changing.
The point is, the hassle, the challenge, the battle is always, the promoter will not listen to you.
But when you have some data in hand, how I
That's what I said.
consider these days is when we are carrying the engagement data, we can easily call out businesses for their bad practices and also compare it with our competitors and come back to them hey, you're not doing well. So I think it's a lot of conversations and
it's changing.
Mindset, it's all about, today they have to realize that we are equally a business partners as strategy drivers. But I'm still saying 80% of the organizations still are directional HR. It's not a strategic HR.
But then he also mentioned that we are the consultants to business. We
Correct.
are ourselves keeping us in that position that we are concerned. We are ourselves a major owners
You've
of
got to break
the
through
human
that.
resources, right? I mean, it's a lot of data that goes in. I think now we started doing, like, I myself will not appreciate if business would come and say, like, you are only involved when needed. Then I would also have power in hand to get the top talent for them. I would be helping them to ensure that they are getting the talent in a minimalist cost and how we are developing talent for them. I'll be sharing in our panel, but I'm just trying to mention that now things are changing. I think people have realized it. And I also wanted to say one thing in AI agents, right? I think because there's a lot of talk and conversation and it's just like it's in trend. I feel there's a pressure to put AI agents, and sometimes it also eliminates the human or the employee experience that you're all having. Just take an example. If in case a lot of companies are creating the ticketing system to solve the problems of their employees, the AI agent is just coming and wasting the people's time, and they're not. It's good to implement agents. It's good to have agents on place, but we are not monitoring if in case these use cases are friendly for the user. I think implementation rushes so much that experience we are all forgetting, and a lot of conversation I have with human resources teams that yes, we have been putting agents, but when I talk to employees and their change management, because it's a huge change, right? When we look into engagement survey, like Workday gets integrated They don't into
open
different
up also
platforms.
to the agents.
Yeah, they don't open up to the agents, and it's actually more human intervention happens to resolve the problems that we're coming with. So I think when CTO HR happens, good to implement tools, but it's all about how we are being a customer to our employees first, not business. That are they even wanting this? And that's a problem I feel industry-wise we all are having, because it's just a very huge trend to be AI everywhere.
Absolutely exciting times with all the change and with the promoter-led businesses and so on and so forth. Thank you for all your questions and observations.
I have one
truly
small
enjoyed
question
it.
for you.
Yeah.
So, being an HR partner, so I've been in the industry for over 13 years. So, we deal with multiple stakeholders. For example, mostly I've been in tech and product HR VP, but I do have sales head, the senior vice president of sales. We have marketing, we have finance, we have tech on one side, we have product on the other side. So each of these heads are big powerhouses, right? And there are politics happening. So being it's very, I find it really difficult to, and you have to be very, very diplomatic to deal with each one of these people. So I just wanted, since you are also there in the industry for quite some time, what is your take on how to deal with these different powerhouses
Yeah,
together?
I think each of them are very
as an HR
interesting
partner, like, what should be our approach to it? Because I have been a part of these big politics multiple times, and with experience you learn there's a 30% data.
I suppose
90% data, 10% talks.
You're echoing what we're all going through. Okay? And I would say that I'm also learning. But data plays a huge role.
Huge role, of course, yeah.
So whether it's, earlier it was only the finance guy we will use data with. But today I can show my engagement data and all types of data, including my demographics, my hiring, my attrition, my time to bench, and then say, okay, now here is what is happening. My time to bench is so low that we are actually making money there. Okay? So you see, then that's the language they understand, right? How quickly can I staff your project? Okay, so that the sales guy doesn't
That's
lose
what we
all
also
this
have been
insight.
doing, always doing with data, AI and all.
Yeah.
But still, politics is there. So, any thoughts on that? How do you usually deal with senior stakeholders who have very different opinion on?
Yeah, I think
intelligence, I would say.
so one of those things that I
Again,
do,
slightly different from what we are
one of those things I do is to get some of them to be part of my COEs. Okay, so whether it is a hiring COE or an onboarding that I have, I say you're my sales SVP, but come down to the trenches and see what's happening. Okay, so to a great extent, what data cannot is experiencing. So try that. Get them into your meetings, get them into all those things. So you socialize the whole thing, and also it builds greater teaming. Right? But I'm still learning. Right? Thank you so much for your
On a lighter note,
Yeah.
if you have the best couch in the house,
Okay.
but low network connectivity, just get a router, booster router. You can brain connectivity and the best couch.
And the best
Sometimes
couch.
simple hacks will work like this. Even with people as well.
Sure, thank you so much. I'm in a minority. So lastly, I want to give you that whatever we are doing today, okay, as HR leaders, we've got to drive ethical workforce practices, data integrity, because that is what undergirds the business. Okay, and with that, thank you very much, and I'm sure you'll have a very great time in so many more sessions later today.